So I realized the potential mistake in this part being that the height right here where it's showing the, actually, you know what? That's not a mistake. Scratch that. The height, if you were trying to guess about the bottom handle, part of me looked and thought that it might go just at this part, which was 0.545, but it doesn't. It does go all the way up to here because the bottom handle ears, or the thickness of the metal, sandwich the top handle right here. Okay. There's a small section down at the bottom, and it says sliced tab. And what it is it's this little portion that's like the same thickness as the material of the handle, and it's curved in two directions. And the curve down here, where you're looking, this would be from a top view. And I don't deal with this until after I've made the solid. Okay. It says use cylinder from side and subtract to flare, meaning that once you turn it into a 3D, it's a subtraction problem. But on this portion right here, where it says see below section, I sort of just make it up as I go along. Okay. What I'm talking about, again, in terms of the tab, is this part where it swells down kind of right here. It just kind of goes downward. But we know that the material thickness is 0.065. So easily enough, what I can do is I can just take an arc. And this is the thing I tell kids, students, I just say, just take like an arc and just bend it down, like so, ever so slightly. Okay. The only thing you want to watch for is that the arc is never going higher than this line. So what I'm going to do is, for a reference point, is I'm going to stick that line right there, but I'm going to draw, and this is just a construction line, okay? But I'm going to draw that arc, making sure that I never get up to this point. And I don't really need to go out very far, okay? That might have been a little bit drastic. Try this one more time. And I've done it both ways. I think I've forgotten before which way the thing ends, but in this case, I'll just go this way with it. Bottom handle, let's try this. That looks pretty good right there. Okay, so it's very, very subtle piece. How far should it be? That's a good question. I think I'm going to go ahead and stretch this one just a bit. Let's see how that looks. I mean, this thing sticks out maybe not even a 1/4 inch. So maybe like so would be good. Okay. This thing is a goner, and all you have to do now is offset 0.065. Just offset the material thickness on this. Okay. Because you know what you're going to do is you're going to stick this cookie cutter right into place right here. So you can now just go ahead and what I would do is just draw a straight line out here, extend your arc, and then extend your arc. And then trim this off and trim that off. Now this is one continuous piece, and it's all set to be extended, or I'm sorry, extruded. So now this is going to get to the point. Again, I'm not going to deal with any radii until I get this all said and done. I still do have a intersection right here, and so that I know where to place I'm just going to put a stick right here. So I know where to place this cookie cutter for an extrusion. I'm going to place it right on this end of this stick right here, but everything else now can be joined. And like I said, no fillets until the very end of this process. You could, I suppose, I don't think I would fillet anything in here. I mean, you definitely could if you wanted to. I don't, since there's no critical intersections really at this point. But actually, I just realized I did screw up a critical intersection. That is this one, which was down here. There's no intersections up here, though, that seem to be critical to any kind of dimensions for anything. So that could go. That could go. Even in places where there's really not fillets, it totally makes a difference. Again, in the outcome as far as like the realism aspect once it's all rendered and everything else. And I thought I did one before between here and here. Yeah, and that looks real good. You might want to do a really, really small one. Fillet radius 0.01. Let's try this. Fillet radius 0.01. This is really small. Try this one more time. Maybe even 0.02. So this part is all ready to roll, all joined. We're about to be all joined. The only ones, like I said, the only thing I left alone without filleting is this intersection because I needed that for my whole locations right here. Okay, so a couple of 3D rotates. Remember that I'm going to extrude. Now this is where I got to think to myself, what was the extrusion number? The extrusion number is 1.13, and that was arrived at because this material is an inch in width from here to here. So that's something I'm going to have to come back to. And so far, this is I think I can leave this alone actually. So I'm going to go to a Southwest Isometric. And I'm going to start. For some reason, it looks like this stuff didn't join entirely. It still does not seem to want to join. This will certainly be a problem if it doesn't join. I'm just going to go back to a fillet of a radius of 0 and just leave it alone. This one. Again, this is not a bad thing about. I might have to go back to a top view in order to pull that off. Let's see what happens if I can. This also might be bothering the adjoining aspect of things. Fillet radius 0. So for some reason, there's some kind of issue where something about this curvature down in here just does not want to join. One way of getting around this, because this is nothing about this is critical, would be to lock my bottom handle layer. And I might be able to, in this case, get away with splining this. It should be. There we go. So what I'm going to do here in this case is try to and that didn't work quite as well as I wanted. But I'm going to try to kind of cheat a little bit and work from here. Actually, what I'm going to do is kind of come up the road a little bit. Turning object snaps off might be not a bad idea for this. And then I'm just going to come along. So if you have this problem, this is a potential workaround for you. So I'm using the green area. And this way I don't even have to worry. So I can kind of fillet it like so. And this is where I was having all the problems. By the way, the spline often works better when you don't have polar turned on. So we're going to see if this can work. And what I'm going to do now is turn object snap back on. And I should have a point to connect to right there. So now if I go back in, you can't tell at a glance, and this is a really small part, you cannot tell at a glance that this is not perfect. But one thing I can do here is I can trim my line work. So I'm just trimming out what we have here that's not corresponding to intersections. And then anything left that's green over here or over here can be erased. Hope is that this will join. And it looks like it finally did. Yep, it's one piece. So now I can come back to a bottom handle. So again, I think the issue that caused that was possibly this touching here, or just something that wasn't on a, there was a part of a unclosed loop or something else. So I'm going to do an extrusion. So I'll go to my bottom handle layer and I'm going to extrude this. And the distance was 1.13. Okay. And then there was one part that has to be extruded all the way through and another part that has to be extruded partially through. So this part is going to go right along where the fillet goes down here. So let's see what this thing looks like now in a realistic format. That looks pretty good. And what I'm going to do is come back to this format, and I'm going to rotate both of these upwards. So I'm going to go ahead and do a 3D rotate. I'm going to go around green. I'm going to type in 90 degrees. And this one has to be parallel. The one that's got the curve on it has to be parallel to this curve right here, which, going back to look at the drawing, was something like 22.5 degrees relative to the base point. So if I do this one, I have to rotate it from this point around the blue hoop, and now I can just say negative 22.5. Now this thing can go and attach right here. And to look at that as a check, that thing is going to travel right along, no problem. So now I can go ahead and go back to my construction layer so it extrudes it at the color that contrasts. And now I can blow it straight up there into space. I can go back to a realistic view. I should be able to do a subtraction. Select the handle itself, right click, select the cookie cutter, right click, and now I've gotten rid of all of that. And then the next part would be to go ahead and move this one down. But this, in this case, and I realized right now I didn't need the little stick. This doesn't need that at all because it subtracts the whole thing. It's the whole bit of this. It's taking every bit of it out. So in this case, when I go to extrude, first I can get rid of that little stick. This is going to come all the way over. And now when I subtract, take the green handle, right click, subtract the yellow, right click, that is what we should see. So that handle stops like so. Okay. Going back, the last step in this, aside from the thing I have to do right here, would be to take these holes and I'm going to copy them from right here and I'm going to place them right there. And I cannot see a thing because I have red-green color blindness, and that was impossible. I could only see a shadow, so I knew they were there. But in this case, again, I can just do an extrusion, select that, select that. I'm going to bring them right down here, and at this point I can just, again, if it makes you feel comfortable, move them up slightly. Go back to realistic, and now I can just go ahead and do a subtraction. Subtract, pick my two sticks that I don't need, like drill bits, and this doesn't need to be here any longer, nor does that. Those can go away. And again, I save my template for right here. So that's that. The last little thing I have to do is do the detail on this right here, which I'll come back and do that, and then maybe make some fillets. So we'll call that done. So one more video on this.